Wake up. You gotta go to...
Oh. Hi, y'alls. Welcome back to Gosh Darn Dandy Time. Today we're going to talk about vaccines, part 2. So, vaccines, part 2. Where did I leave off with Reddit that I was going to talk about? Oh, yeah. Exemptions. So, if you want to put your kid in public school, private school, regular everyday 5 full days a week school, in their pre-kindergarten to 12th grade, and they're not vaccinated because you are an idiot who, for whatever reason, you believe propaganda bullbunk hooey about how vaccines cause blah blah blah, and vaccines do blah 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 damage, and vaccines create blah 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 hazards to the body and the bloodstream, whatever the hell you believe that has already been disproven by science, by major hospitals in the US and the world, by the CDC, has disproven your stupid theories that you're reading about on Facebook and fake news websites. And you want to put your kid in public school or private school? Seriously, homeschool them. Or vaccinate them, because herd immunity is a thing. Herd immunity means when you vaccinate the masses. When you vaccinate 500 people in a 500 people school, nobody's going to get sick. But if you vaccinate only 200 out of that 500, you're going to have 300 more people in that school who are going to get sick one after the other, who are going to be contaminated by contagious diseases and illnesses, and it's going to spread like wildfire to the point where too many absences for one school equals school closures and sanitation companies coming in to sanitize and disinfect every single surface, and some school supplies and materials may end up being thrown out and incinerated, meaning that your mistake of breeding fake news has caused your kid's future school to lose more money and more resources than ever at all necessary, which it isn't necessary at all. It's not. Please, people, stop taking a gosh darn dandy time and vaccinate your kids. Your kids are precious. The next generation is too precious to let them suffer unnecessary illnesses. When I was a kid, I had a bad illness that now has a vaccine. It's called the Chickenpox vaccine. I had the chickenpox twice as a kid and once as an adult, as I never did get the vaccine for real. But when I was 8 years old, childhood amnesia is supposed to take away all the memories of the bad days and the illnesses and the suffrage. My childhood amnesia didn't take away the memories. So I still remember being suffering in pain and blisters and pus-filled blisters and pustules all over my body that were bleeding both pus and blood when I was 8 years old, from my head to my toes. And my parents didn't do the best job at taking care of my sister and I for emergency medical needs, and so they made me wait an entire weekend until our neighborhood clinic was open on a Monday to take me in to get me assessed for all my blisters, instead of driving 15 minutes to the closest ER. Thanks, Mom and Dad, you suck. I hope that your kids, people out there, your kids will say the same thing to you when they get the measles. Your kids will say, thanks, Mom and Dad, you suck. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. So anyways, I had this bad illness, and I remember the pain and the misery of, I think, 2 or 3 different nurses and a doctor just taking different giant needles and stabbing and lancing all of these blisters all over my body. I didn't have a developed chest yet, so I had that flat 8-year-old stomach, abdomen, chest from the waist to the shoulders. And I had blisters on both sides of my body. And It was hell. I cried and I screamed. And I'm sure people probably could have heard me from the sidewalk outside that clinic. Childhood amnesia didn't erase the memories of a bad illness that didn't have a vaccine yet when I had that illness. The illness is called roseola, and it's in the chickenpox family. It's essentially the measles of chickenpox. But now there's a vaccine for chickenpox, so my future kids, they'll get vaccinated against chickenpox. Some people say chickenpox. My correction, our future kids will be vaccinated against chickenpox, because regardless of having chickenpox or roseola or scarlet fever, rheumatic fever, the vaccine covers all of those. And I had at least 2 of the many chickenpox illnesses in my childhood, once as an adult, when I was 19, 20, around New Year's. My birthday is February, so I think it was around New Year's, that I had chickenpox for, I'd say, a good 2.5 weeks. I was going to college and I couldn't really miss any classes, miss any days. I had tests, I had things going on, obligations, working. I couldn't jump out of life to stay on the couch all day for 2 weeks. I still had to live, and that sucked balls. It sucked, it sucked, it sucked. I don't want anyone to suffer that suckage, ever. Not your kids, ever. Your kids do not deserve to suffer such suckage of illnesses that have previously been eradicated. Cancel out the illness. Get your kids vaccinated. Stop taking your fucking gosh darn dandy time. Get your kids fucking vaccinated. It's not rocket science. It just takes, call your pediatrician clinic, schedule your vaccine appointment for your kids. It may take 4 appointments over the course of a year, or 6 appointments over the course of a year, whatever. Get those appointments done, get your kids vaccinated, then put them in regular school. Make sure they're vaccinated against everything that can infect the herd. Because if you don't, you might regret it. Your kid might die. Your kid might suffer extreme suffrage. They'll be in the hospital, and your medical debt on your bills and your payments and your credit cards, that's going to push you over the edge. That's so unnecessary. Don't do that to yourself financially. That's not worth it. Instead, spend your money wisely on a trip to Australia, or New York City, or Japan. Please see my previous video, my top 3 dream vacations, for more info on all the great attributes of traveling around the world, instead of spending your money on other unnecessary things. Oh, unnecessary things like not vaccinating your kids and regretting it later on down the road when they have health complications from not being vaccinated. That's right, folks. If your kids aren't vaccinated, they may suffer health complications. Not all, but some. When your kids get the measles in childhood and they survive, they're going to have issues in their brains during puberty, during their adult years. Some people who have measles in childhood become sterile as adults. Not all, but some. Same with the mumps. Same with rubella. Same with meningitis. And if your kids get meningitis, they could lose some fingers. They could lose some toes. They could lose full limbs. Hands, wrists, arms, feet, legs. They could lose an eye. They could lose an ear. Meningitis means that the tissue is dying, and so things need to be amputated. That's what not vaccinating does to your kids. Makes them lose out on life experiences. Well, please don't take your gosh darn dandy time to vaccinate. Just get it done. Please like, subscribe, and comment positive comments only on this video. I will be deleting all trolls. Everyone have a great night.